Looks like you've been missing a lot of work lately, Strickland. Well, I wouldn't say I've been missing it, Doug. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The Nice Guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
All right, so today, before we get started, for those of you interested in listening to from the podcast community side, if you're working on monetization and just can't quite figure out the formula, you definitely want to check out the program that I created called From Guest to Gold, a free course that we're giving away to those in our community. The Guest to Gold, it's an easy mini course. It's 7 modules. It's easy to follow, and it's all on my favorite subject. You guys know what it is. Yes, that is right, monetization. Most podcasters fail to utilize the full potential of their podcast, and in this mini course, I walk you through the concepts and strategies that have been worth literally millions of dollars for this podcast and the podcasts of our clients as well. All right, let's get on to today's guest. So I would probably describe her as smooth, mellow, and cool. And then I heard her kind of describe herself in some of the episodes that way as well. Well, she might not have said the cool word, but she definitely said smooth and mellow. Definitely informative. And that's how I describe the Freelance Friday podcast. And today's guest, Latasha James, she's providing actionable tips to help freelancers and online business owners start, grow, and scale their businesses. Let's dive into the pool with today's guest, Latasha. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Doug. That is a much nicer way of saying boring, because I've heard that before. I've definitely heard my voice puts people to sleep, that I'm monotone. So thank you for smooth. I like that. I'm going to use that.
No, I think your voice is great. I've listened to a couple of your episodes on the podcast. And then when I heard on the podcast that you have a YouTube channel, I clocked over there. And I got to tell you, you have a lot going on, which is totally cool. You have a great, you have a great set, a great design. You obviously have a professional microphone. You sound good. You have interviewing people and you share interesting concepts. What was the idea behind it? Now you're young, so I think the technology space is probably a lot easier for you. You were probably born with an iPhone in your hand for the most part.
I remember dial-up.
Okay,
I'm not that young. Okay.
All right, cool. So what was it that intrigued you about this online space? Did YouTube come first? Did your podcast come first? Maybe take a dive into all of those answers there.
Yeah, absolutely. YouTube came first for me. I mean, way back in the day, I was on LiveJournal and Zanga, some of those early blogging platforms. And the YouTube channel just kind of evolved out of my love for just telling stories online. I've actually always been very shy and very socially awkward in real life. So I always found it quite hard to make friends. So I just loved the community of YouTube and blogging. Started sharing a little bit about my freelance journey over the years on YouTube, just because people were asking about it. I actually started as more of like a lifestyle channel, just kind of sharing my day-to-day life. And over time, I noticed that those freelance videos were not necessarily the most viewed, but definitely the most engaged with. People had so many questions about my business. They really wanted to start their own businesses, start freelancing. And so I started a series on YouTube called Freelance Friday, and I would do it like every other Friday. And spoiler alert, that's what the podcast turned into. There were longer form episodes and just kind of dove into getting clients or marketing yourself or whatever the topic was. And people really loved them. And something that I was hearing, I was actually working in corporate still at the time. So I was just side hustling. People would tell me, I listened to your YouTube show at work. I just put it on in the background, like put it behind a window or whatever, and just listen with my earbuds. Or they would say, I can't wait to get home from work and listen to your show or watch your YouTube video. And I was like, they're kind of listening to it like a podcast already. Why don't I just dive a little deeper and actually create an audio format? So that's
very cool. And I appreciate you sharing your journey. And I think if I remember correctly, through looking through some of the stuff, you're about 175 episodes on your podcast, but you've probably been doing it much longer on your YouTube channel.
Yeah, I would say I've been doing the Freelance Friday type content on YouTube for about 4 years.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you emphasize over and over and over again, it's not length of content. It's not even necessarily, certainly quality of content is great, but the consistency of putting your message out there over and over again. And I think you just kind of are in the process of stepping back from doing several episodes or 2 episodes a week to maybe even less than that on the YouTube channel. What goes into your brain for how do you know when your community which is huge, by the way, for those that are listening on the Turnkey podcast and on Nice Guys on Business for that matter. Over almost 100,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel. Congratulations. Oh, that's a huge accolade. So what goes through your mind when you're starting to work on and develop the business plan around your content creation?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's a great point. I mean, I definitely, you have to have that balance, and times have certainly changed also, even just from the time that I've been online, in that 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, I would have said it's quality over quantity always. But to be honest, we're living in a very fast-paced online world. So consistency does really matter. There is a lot of competition. There is just a lot of different content formats taking people's attention. So you do have to compete in that area. But like I said, you can't just put out junk either. There has to be a little bit of a balance. So for me, it is finding that sweet spot, which is what can I really commit to showing up to every single week where I feel really proud of what I'm putting out. I don't feel like I'm just throwing something up just to throw it up on YouTube. That's going to give my audience value, but that is also going to be, put out at a consistency that makes sense and that helps people actually remember me and stay connected to me.
So what's the sweet spot in not just putting out the level of content that you're putting out, but in the type of content? What do you hope to accomplish, and where's your sweet spot in what you talk about?
Yeah. Well, I have a little, a strategy, I guess, in my brain where I try to create content that's both discoverable and community content. So I try to make sure that I have a mix between the two. So a discoverable piece of content would be, how to build an email list or something like that, where people are going to be searching for that type of content. That's going to bring new eyes into my channel and help me grow the audience. But you also have to nurture your existing audience and make sure that they're either a part of the process in some way, whether that's inviting them on the show or reviewing something they did or answering, a Q&A episode, or just entertaining them in some way. So obviously the majority of the content, I try to keep it discoverable to keep growing, but you also have to balance that out with some more personal content that helps people get to know you and moves people down the sales funnel a little bit too.
What was one of the things that you had no idea that it would become a part of either your podcast journey or your YouTube journey as you were creating content? I think about the relationships that I built from my guest seat, that I had no idea that I was going to get anything out of those relationships. I thought this would be great. I mean, I've had some really heavy hitters, but the best guests are the guests like you and me. And those are the guests that I develop relationships with. They've been worth, I can't even tell you how much money and relationship and value and all of the stuff that comes out of that. So what's one of those things, or a couple of those things, or you can tag on to that if you want to as well?
Honestly, both the YouTube channel and the podcast, they were never meant to be client acquisition engines for me. They were, like I said, I'd just kind of always been on the internet since I was a teenager. And it was just a way of self-expression and community and connecting with other people who did what I did for me. And that's who the target is, right? It's called the Freelance Friday Podcast. So the audience is other freelancers, other content creators, but the majority of my agency leads come from YouTube and from the podcast. Brand deals and collaborations come through there. So, I really don't do much if at all, of outbound prospecting anymore, even though I'm not talking to them.
Isn't that so great though? I mean, I always tell everybody that becomes a client, we have I know you were reached cold from somebody on my team just saying, hey, would you come on the show? So you don't probably have a lot of background on me, but we're in the podcast coaching, monetization, influence building, community building aspect of things. And it's really interesting how things come together. I talk to my clients all the time about those hidden relationships that you build from that podcast guest seat. It's not that it doesn't matter how large your community is, but for me, my business model has never been built on community growth. But I'm talking to somebody that has 100,000 YouTube subscribers, so there's obviously something that I'm missing along the way there. Not that I don't want to go in that direction, but it's like, wow, I've built this business not ever relying upon the size of my audience. But that's probably not your business model. So tell me a little bit about how your business model works.
Yeah. I mean, numbers aren't everything. And I will say that I've been I've had a monetized YouTube channel and a monetized audience since I had, I don't know, 10,000 subscribers or something like that. So I definitely don't want people listening to think that you have to have this huge audience. I mean, 100,000 people is a lot to me. You definitely do not need to have that many to be successful at selling a digital product. Like I said, brands, I mean, my first long-term freelance client, they cold emailed me. I think I want to say I had about 5,000 subscribers at that time. And I ended up working with them for 2 years, building their whole social media strategy for this amazing startup based in Paris. Like, it was totally a dream client job. So, as long as you're smart about it, meaning that you have contact information readily available, that you are, producing quality content, you can still monetize your audience without having this huge number.
Absolutely.
It's only a bonus after you start, getting a bigger and bigger audience.
So similar to your YouTube audience, I'm sure your podcast audience is like this. Or even just the entire arena. You're looking for opportunity constantly. If you go in thinking, I am an online marketer, my job is to build my email list so that I can turn my list and convert my list into dollars coming in the door, and you ignore the 17 other opportunities that are hitting you and saying, hey, just let me in the door here. If you're looking just to build your list and you've missed these other opportunities, then you really are missing a lot of what podcasting and a YouTube channel are offering. Can you just talk about that for a second? Because I'd love to know a little bit where your opportunities come from to build your business from your channels.
Yeah. So glad you mentioned email list. Of course, start that as soon as possible. I launched my first course with a list of like 100 people. It was very small, and some of those people are still hanging on. So it's super valuable to do that. Absolutely. So the email list and the automated sequences really lead to the courses, the education side of the business. So I offer some evergreen courses as well as some more group coaching style, like cohort-based courses. And then in addition to that, we also do brand deals, sponsorships, mostly for the YouTube channel. We're still figuring out. When you read that ad earlier, I'm like, ooh, I need to take that course that you offer because
I'll send it to you right after this.
Yes, please do. Because we're still figuring out exactly how to monetize the podcast, but definitely with YouTube, we do, at least a couple of brand sponsors every month. And then there is the service-based side of the business, which is what I originally started doing, as a freelancer. I do much less of that now, but I still do that because it helps me keep a pulse on what's going on when I'm giving advice to, for the Freelance Friday podcast. I have to understand what's going on in the freelance world. So I mostly do social first video content. I started out doing social media management, but now I'm just mostly producing videos for clients to use on social. So those are the main. I don't think I missed anything.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So diversification of income is extremely important. I want to chat for just a second about, I tell this to all my clients as we go through the coaching process and the steps, that the riches are in the niches. And it is not about having a very, people compare podcasting oftentimes to the broadcast market like radio. And there is a potential listenership of 10 million people. I would tell you, I'd rather have 10 people that are actually buying the stuff that I'm selling or converting to something, opting into a lead magnet or buying a $97 course than 10 million people that aren't buying anything. So just share your philosophy of when I say the riches are in the niches, what's that mean to you?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And that's exactly why I could launch my first course to a list of 100, because they were 100 people who actually cared about what I had to say. And so those 100 people converted really well. As opposed to, going out and spamming your link into Facebook groups or whatever it is that you choose to do and getting a lot of low quality leads. So of course, again, volume is good. Like if you can maintain the quality while you're growing, but I totally agree with you that having something niche and really targeted is going to be more beneficial than just having everybody listen to you. And there's, going back to the discoverable content versus the community content, that kind of helps to niche down as well, because the discoverable stuff gets a lot of people in the door, right? That's top of funnel awareness stuff. You get a lot of eyes on your content if you put out something that's highly searchable. But then by kind of moving people down the funnel and sharing more about what exactly you do or something that's very industry specific, those people might fall off, and that's okay. I always say, like, unsubscribes, love them. Love unsubscribes.
Right, please.
Please
it's costing
unsubscribe.
me money to keep you on my list. Could you jump on, if you're not going to do anything, could you get off my list?
Yes.
Yeah,
and you're getting my hopes up. If I feel like I have this huge list that I'm going to launch to, but nobody really cares, just go, so I can make accurate projections for sure.
You said this word a couple of times, and I want to make sure that those in my community understand it, because I think that the key to marketing properly using your podcast as a tool is engagement through getting someone that's anonymous to raise their hand and say, hey, I want you to know me a little bit more. And the first step of putting your paid products or services into somebody's hands is to getting them to step from anonymous to known. They've got to raise their hand. So the word you used is funnel. And many people, and I remember just a few years ago, I was a funnel adverse guy. I didn't want to know about funnels. I didn't want to talk about funnels. They were foreign to me. I'm old school. Just let me pick up the phone and talk to somebody. God, was I wrong? A funnel is such a great way to build a business. So can you share, number one, if you're okay with sharing it, how many funnels that you have in place? And secondly, I'll start with what is a funnel for you? And second, how many funnels you have in place? Yeah.
Well, I hear you, because the whole sales funnel thing just sounds very overwhelming. I always thought it was like this specific tool or this, it's really just a way to get your people from knowing who you are down to making a purchase. So it's an upside down triangle. It starts with awareness. They have to find you first. That's where that discoverable content comes in, that SEO content, whether that's a blog, a podcast, a YouTube channel, whatever that is. And then over time, you're going to nurture them. You're going to get them to engage with you. You're going to talk to them, get to know them, and build the value of your services, your products, whatever. So over time that they purchase from you. So usually when people refer to a sales funnel, they're talking about email automations or like an email sequence where they'll start top of the funnel with like your free course that you offer, or maybe a free download. For us, we have quizzes that we use. We also do some PDFs, like some mini ebooks.
Yeah.
They get into the funnel, they give us their email address for that. And then we have an automation that goes out of, 5 to 10 emails that builds up value, that gives them tips, maybe upsells them on some lower ticket products, things like that. Over time. So that's what a sales funnel, the short version is.
That was great. Great explanation. Much better than I could have ever explained it. It's from a true professional in that you've probably been doing funnels a lot longer than I have. I've just really recently gotten to know how they work and how effective they freaking can be. It's crazy. Just getting people to discover your brand using a lead magnet is a great, great plan.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the thing, just real quick, so don't be overwhelmed by it. At the very least, just create a lead magnet. Again, course, download, free audio course, whatever it is you want it to be. At bare minimum, start with that and just collect emails for it. You don't have to have this super advanced, segmentation and all these intense automations. Just at least start with that, because then you're going to be collecting email addresses and you can send out a newsletter to them or reach out when you have something to say. Right.
And then can you give us some clue as on the other side of it, how many, because I know it just based upon how many products and services one has in place, I might have, I don't even know that I know the answer to this question. I probably have 5 funnels in place. Are they all working? No. I wish they would all work a little bit better. Some funnels are kind of like left in the warehouse of funnels past because nothing happened. So I'm not pushing anybody through that anymore. So how many do you have in place currently?
Yeah, 3. But again, I think I also have some half funnels going on too. This time of year, Q1 is always about like cleaning up and refining. So I'm actually in the process of rewriting a lot of those emails, but 3, mainly because I have 3 different audiences. For the most part. We have the service providers, we have course creators, and we have more of like a consulting audience. So I like to have custom freebies and lead magnets for each of those audience that speaks directly to them.
Can you share? I don't think I've done this on any other podcast before. I'm not even sure what motivated me to ask this question that's about to come out of my mouth, but I think it's probably good because you have a very rich level of experience with email campaigns, probably creating content, building funnels. What tools are you using? I'm happy to share mine first. I'm using ActiveCampaign for my email marketing. I'm using Kajabi for my course creation and landing pages. What else am I using? I'm using HubSpot as my CRM. Those are just 3 that I use. I'm sure there's others that I'm not even thinking of. That Wufoo to be some back-end form fill software. What stuff are you using?
Okay. Yep. I'm actually very, very simple. I use Flowdesk for my emails. I love that tool. Really beautifully designed emails. And I find that their deliverability, I guess, is very high compared to some of the other ones. So I really love Flowdesk. You can do all your automations and everything through there. For my courses, I use Thinkific. I started with them a long time ago, really like it. And really, as far as fun, like the funnel itself, that's really all that we're using. We automate it through Flowdesk.
Nice.
I use Honeybook for like a client management system for the service.
I don't even know why I didn't think about that. We use Monday.com for our project management software for all of our clients. And it's a beast. I mean, it's so great to be able to put, you describe things and it's really pretty, it's really flowing. And I'm like, it's a beast and it's like a monster. It's like, I'm such a guy when it comes to that. And you're like, I like the way it looks. I'm like, I don't give a shit the way it looks as long as it's effective.
But it works too. That's key, because obviously you have to have the balance between those things. It can't just look good. It has to actually work. So that's number 1.
Okay. Number 1, was there a number 2 or I'll continue moving on?
No, I think that's it.
Oh, that's number 1, as in that's the most important thing.
That's the most important thing.
I got it. Tell those that are listening in to our podcast today and from both channels, not only the Turnkey Podcast, which is our podcast about podcasting, but our Nice Guys on Business, which is about our business building model. Share a little bit about your podcast. Give me like a thumbnail sketch. Why would somebody want to listen to it? Who would they be if they're listening to it, and so forth?
Yeah. So the Freelance Friday podcast is for freelancers, for self-employed folks, entrepreneurs, content creators, anyone who's doing their own thing online, creating content and, running a business online. I try to make it fun, pretty casual,
chill,
and just
smooth.
kind of, almost kind of like just a co-working hour or kind of a coaching hour with me. I talk about everything from like content creation tips to some of the legal sides of running a business, really anything that you need to know about running a business.
Nice. And we'll make sure we put a link in the show notes so you have access to Latasha's programs, not only her YouTube channel, but her podcast as well. Share with me as we're getting close to the end of the show here, but I'm curious, some of the things that you probably wish you would have done differently from the very beginning that now looking back. Yeah.
Email list for sure. I didn't have any type of lead magnet probably until a couple years into the podcast.
Isn't it amazing to think, oh my God, I went 2 years without having anything that people could opt into?
For sure. And it's like, of course, my first episode probably got 20 listens, but 1 out of 20 of those people probably would have downloaded something. And, that grows over time. So absolutely that. I would also say, I think the monetization thing is, I wouldn't say it's a huge issue. Podcasting for me was never a huge monetization piece. It was more of a brand piece and a middle of the funnel piece for me personally. But I do think there were some missed opportunities there. There's more that I could have been doing with the show had I had monetization. Because right now it still is sort of acting as a passion project.
Yeah, well, that's okay. So I think that most people, as they, we just had an interview probably about an hour ago with someone that was about 40 episodes in, still just trying to discover like what he is doing in the direction that he's going. I've had conversations with people that are hundreds of episodes in, and think about my experience as I was 200 episodes in. We did this special video podcast episode of our episode number 200. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. I mean, not just with the video, but it took us probably close to 2 years before we even thought about, hey, there's actually money to be made in
Yep.
podcasting. Once we started to figure out, oh, wait, there's these 3 different buckets. And our turnkey community, you guys have heard me say this before, you have a bucket of monetization, you have a bucket of community building, and you have a bucket of influence. Pick which one you were going to work on for that particular episode or that short season of episodes that you're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you start having people on your show that are influencers and you start to think about how you can monetize that influencer, it's not going to work. The monetization bucket gets filled with monetization guests and monetization message and all of the things that you're creating. So keep in mind, as you're listening to this, it is a 3-bucket content creation program. It's not everybody goes in one bucket. I'm going to create this content, put it out consistently, and make money because our guests, our audience is going to miraculously raise their hand and say, Doug, sell me something. It's not going to work that way. You have to have some intention. You have to have a program, and you have to not arrive just creating content every week or every couple of weeks. You've got to have an intention of what does this look like over the course of the next 12 weeks or the next 6 months or whatever it is. It's not just pick up and start puking product. It's not going to work that way.
Absolutely. And what I know you didn't ask this, but what I think I did right, on the flip side of that is that I did build my own thing. And I also see a lot of creators get in the habit of just kind of becoming ad bots, but they don't have anything of their own, which at the end of the day, I don't know how sustainable that is either. So I am glad that I at least did that right.
Well, one of the things I see, and you really do this well, the model that you've created as well, I'm sure there's some level of intentionality behind it, but it also, sometimes you stumble, not you, but sometimes one stumbles upon this, is you're going to have your episodes where you're going to have your guests on and they're going to be great, but they're not you. Your community comes because of you, because of your guests. They're going to stay though, because you are an amazing host. And you've done these monologue episodes where you're just riffing with your community. That truly, for those that are listening, whether you're Nice Guys on Business listeners or you're listening through Turnkey, the people that are going to be tuning in to hear your message, your strengths come through when you are monologuing. Your ability to converse and have a good conversation and maybe get some street cred are going to come from when you have guests on your show, because they're going to promote it and that'll be helpful. But you're going to build your best audience that's connected to you, sticky audience. You're going to build your stickiest audience when you're monologuing, or when you have somebody on your episode that you're actually coaching through a specific problem that you're working through. And that's really where your magic comes out. So, and I know you do all of that stuff. So I really appreciate, your, at this point in your journey, for me, when I was there, I didn't know anything. And for you to already know so many of those things is so great. Did you have a mentor? Did you have somebody that was guiding you, or did you just figure this out on your own?
Yeah. I mean, for podcasting, I didn't have a specific mentor. I was in a lot of Facebook groups, honestly, just sharing what we knew. I feel like none of us knew what we were doing. So we were all kind of learning together, which is helpful for sure. So yeah, no specific mentor really, just a lot of research and Googling, honestly.
So I very much appreciate you being on the show. I know our time was limited today, and it's only because I'm sure, like me, how many of these can you do in the course of a day? It's like, for sure. More podcast episodes. I try to batch as many of them as I can. So I think when I got to the end of of the 3rd episode, which is your episode right now, I think my brain is now a little bit mush. So thank you for being on the show. Thank you for sharing your content, and thanks for doing what you do for the podcast space and the YouTube space as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me.
For the Nice Guys on Business, I'm Steve O'Brien. Fill up your week with the Nice Guys. Haven't they run out of people willing to talk to them yet?